Looks like I'm in here. Maybe I should have this other screen already up and jumping. Y'all know I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Grace and peace be unto you from God the Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm gonna show y'all a video in the midst of me doing some of what I'm doing. Some things been popping up, and I'll still get the occasional question here or there. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, I see everybody. I see everybody coming in. Good to see you. We appreciate everybody. Y'all prayers and y'all support and stuff like that. Y'all can get in touch with me at bereanteacher@gmail.com. Dunamis, what's good, Charles? I see you. All right, Sister Nadine, Sun Kiss. I got a question for y'all. I'm not going to be before you long, but I got a couple of questions because we have a problem. We have a serious problem. Y'all know I've been ongoing, no matter what the title is. Y'all know we've been dealing with this new age and the occult. And I see my man hit me and he asked me for a couple of books. What's going on, brother? And he asked me, about a couple of books dealing with that. I'm gonna start showing some stuff. As a matter of fact, I think I can, whilst I'm talking, I think I'm getting better. I can pull some of the slides over into one of these keynotes and pull up some books, some recommendations and stuff like that. But let me ask y'all a question. And I'm going to say something first, and I'm saying this for a reason. When we start dealing with, y'all often hear me talk about bootleg and the deep state and bootleg Christianity. When we deal with, we're living, I'm from the city, and in the city, everything is bootleg. They got bootleg Timberlands, bootleg Newports, bootleg Louis bag, Gucci bag, all of that stuff. But the most bootleg thing, the most copied or forged, that's what bootleg mean, the most copied or forged thing out of all jewelry and stuff, out of all watches, should I say, is not the AP, not the tag, but the Rolex. And you know why the Rolex is the most bootlegged watch or the most faked copied watch out of all of the watches is because of its history, because of its status among watches, and its history makes it the most copied watch, the most bootlegged watch on the face of the earth. People don't just bootleg slum stuff that's not worth nothing. They just don't do it. They just don't do it. And we're living in a time that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of mystics, there's a lot of gurus out here, and they're moving with forms of mystical Christianity, bootleg Christianity. And why are they doing that? If you look at the internet, if you even go to different countries, they don't have a lot of bootleg forms of Islam. You have over here what was invented over here, the Nation of Islam, which is not really considered pure Islam from Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Now, some people say after Elijah Muhammad died, it was Farrakhan's job to shift the people over from the cultic type of Islam to praying 5 times a day and the true Islam that Minister Malcolm X went over there and saw. He was shocked when he saw Muslims of every race, because he never really been out of the country. And he saw there was a different Islam, and it come to find out that is the original Islam. And the cult which he was following came later on and was teaching different things. So later on, times came, and even Elijah Muhammad's son pulled away, and today he's more considered, his movement is more considered more orthodox Islam. But when we look all over the world, we don't find religions being banged on like Christianity. We don't find bootleg forms of bootleg forms of Hinduism. You don't find bootleg forms of Islam. You have 2 branches. You have 2 main branches, Shiite and Sunni. And then you have a few Sufi. That's a very, very, very small thing. But you don't have it like Christianity. You got so many branches, so many Christian cults, what people would call the Mormon church and all these other things. They're cults, they're breakaways. They're different from the original thing. And often when you're dealing with the depth of spirituality, and that's because of who Jesus is. If you look at these fake gurus, these gurus will come around here and they always want to try to drag Jesus into it. And I'm going to talk about a little bit. I think I can touch on some of that. I'm going to talk about, Eckhart Tolle and all of them, all these spiritual gurus that's all on the internet. Everybody from Jabari to Kevin Wesley to Oprah Winfrey to Eckhart Tolle, all of these heavy seers and light workers and all of these people giving you the the higher knowledge and the true mystical knowledge, all of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff we got going on here. I agree, my brother. He said we living in the last days, and it's a mess. It's a mess in what's going on. It's when we start talking about the Wild Wild West, that was an early period in this country, and it was characterized by roughness and lawlessness. You know, the gunslingers out, people stealing land, raping women, doing what they want, they killing people just doing what they want to do. And in all actuality, nobody was really brought to justice. There was no set up system yet where people can be tried. They had little stuff set up here and there, but people just basically running amok. All up and down, taking land, killing people, taking their horses, raping their wives, doing what they want to do. Just taking over their cabins, and they're just doing everything. And that was the Wild Wild West. Well, spiritually speaking, it's the Wild Wild West over here. There's an attack that's going on, and it's crazy because everybody is a spiritual guru, especially in light of this whole COVID thing. Everybody's a spiritual guru, and what people don't understand when we deal with these people and they're talking about your chakras and your third eye and your higher knowledge and the deep truth, when these folk running around here and they talking all that crazy stuff, a lot of times these spiritual gurus, they're connected to marketing. They're marketing. They getting ready to fugazi you to sell you something. Come to my deep conference and understand how to clear yourself of the fluoride and open your third eye. Understand the depths of what Christianity is not really teaching you, the higher ancient religion. And these are the deep 9 books of forbidden knowledge. We're going to talk about some books, and I'm going to bring some books up, but most of the books that I talk about are not recommended reading. You hear me before the podcasts, them other folk get to running amok talking about, I'm over here telling people read this. These are not recommended readings. These are things that I've read. And all of this is leading up to, it could be leading up to my testimony. You can't even testify in front of church folk no more. Because church folk, to be honest, folk can't handle your testimony. And, I'm cautious. I'm waiting for God to, people know a good bit of my life, but I'm waiting for God to reveal some other stuff. Thank you. We appreciate you. I want God to reveal some other stuff, because we got to be careful, because in the midst of all of this stuff, it's a lot of game. We got to be careful. There's a lot of game. And what do I mean game? You can just look about when you deal with algorithms and stuff. I can look around and I can see a lot of folk. Y'all love that energy. Y'all love them videos. When somebody said, I went to hell. Jesus came to my bedroom. I went to heaven. Oh, the mystical. These people love this mystical. Y'all love that. Y'all love them stories. All I need to do is to put a story. I seen Jesus. Jesus was in my house last night. And next week, I'm going to have 100,000 views in a few days, because people like hell stories. They like Jesus stories. They like heaven stories. They like all this supernatural stuff. The Wild Wild West of spirituality we're talking about. And when we say the Wild Wild West, it's important. And I want y'all to remember this, because I'm going to add this on to the teachings. The Wild Wild West is, oh, you don't know. That's only people over here. Oh, you don't know. The Western mind don't really understand. You got the Hebraic thought, and you start hearing other people. And these are indicators when people get ready to drop the fugazi. When they get ready to give you 99% of the time, when I hear them start talking about the Western mind, they get ready to hit me with some Constantine, and they don't even know primary source. If you can't tell me about primary sources, dealing with this church history, dealing with Constantine, anything you quote, you need to sit down and be quiet. But it's a lot of folk right now on the internet, they don't need to be quiet. And they're not being challenged. They're not being challenged. I ain't gonna even go no further. Let me play some of this video right here and show y'all some stuff. And this is one of them. Who's who among the gurus? And yeah, I'm gonna start with some black people, but there's a lot of white gurus out there too. Who's who among the gurus, and what is all of this stuff that they're talking about? What is all of this stuff that they're talking about? And like I told y'all, I was gonna do something and explain certain doctrines within the church and what people believe, because it's confusion with that. So I'm gonna have to. I'm saying let all the degreed folk, let them come and teach you, but I might have to teach them stuff. Let me show y'all something. Or should I ask y'all the questions first? I hate that I do this sometime, but I ask questions for a reason, to make y'all think, and then we come back, and when we get it in, we're gonna get it in. Before I pull the video up, do y'all think that some people are more prone, when we deal with the supernatural, Well, I said that baby was born with a veil. That other girl said, "Oh, I used to always see the spirits when I was little." No, you was a spooky little kid. That's what we take. Well, that's what we say. But we got to be careful because we're living in a time we used to just say everything was the devil. In this age of information, in this age of people that are having spiritual experiences, we got to be careful that we don't run around here and make everything the devil if it ain't the devil. Y'all hear me? We got to make sure that we ain't making everything the devil. That's the devil. That's not the devil. Let's just make sure it's the devil. Because if it ain't the devil and it get revealed later on that it's not the devil, this is just a natural phenomenon, this is just some natural stuff that we're beginning to understand, like when we start dealing with plants. And I'm going to talk to y'all about plants and why this occult thing is so big, because Eve was in the garden and she was dealing with the occult. This is where the occult comes in, because she ate from another tree to receive different knowledge. And people are out here receiving different knowledge. I got to keep it a buck. People are out here receiving different knowledge. Are plants alive? Can we establish that without bringing the devil in? Because I'm going to talk. Then y'all tell me when the demons and the devil come on the scene. Are plants alive? Is it okay for you? And I know some people have grandmamas in them. A lot of people are going back to gardens. They say, I got some kale, I got some squash. You know, I seen my Jamaican man doing it and I was laughing at him, but more and more people doing it. I remember my man Mel started talking about that and healing properties and what plants are good and what plants are not good. Y'all see what Eric say? Because if plants are alive, and is it devil worship? Because some people, even believers, they get plants and they say that you can talk. I don't know if it's pseudoscience, but they say you can talk to plants, and if you talk to plants, you can nurture them like children. You can nurture them like children. You can talk to plants, and I'm going to get into even the talking to the babies, because that gaga Google stuff. I notice a lot of you people now, y'all got educated. Y'all don't gaga Google these babies no more. You believe in holding mama's belly and talking to the baby in the belly. And when the baby come out, y'all don't believe in Google gaga. Y'all believe in talking to the baby like the baby can understand, or as time go on, you're changing your pamper. How was your day, dude? And I heard the other lady say, you got to ask the baby, do you mind if I change your pamper? I'm saying this in a funny way, but we gotta make sure what we're doing is moving on in knowledge and having a clearer understanding, or if the devil is on the scene. And the only reason that I'm doing this is because, like I said, grandmama and them had us thinking everything was the devil. But this younger generation, these younger people now, they're looking into things scientific. There's some things that's pseudoscience, but some science, some facts, some research has been done in certain things. And I don't want more things to come out that grandma and them was calling the devil that may not actually be the devil. It may just be science. If something takes place and you just don't know it, you can't call it the devil. Type 1, do you think that's fear? Or that's a dangerous ground for a true child of the Most High God to be going down the road? Because Auntie and them talk to plants. And now people are saying that there's healing properties in different plants, and some we don't even know about. But the scary thing is, a lot of these people that are teaching this, they're not Bible believers, so automatically people are pushing it over into the occult. All plants, if you know anything, one of the most popular drugs out there, they said aspirin comes from the bark of a tree, I believe, if I remember correctly. So if it's anything beneficial, I don't want to be out here like I don't want it. Is that fair? I want to make sure that we all fear right now. Now, the thing is, they're saying that plants are so smart. They believe that the insects communicate, and the insects start dealing, the bumblebee and stuff start dealing with plants. And we're going to talk about bees and how bees are a symbol in certain fraternities. That's a whole different thing. How people use different insects and honey, how different people use different certain things, and to give clarity or to teach something, and they're symbolic of something. I can say to you people in here right now, the land of milk and honey. And to you, that would jog some things in your mind when you go back to God and His promise and His people. Is it good for a believer to talk to plants, to have plants? Is it good to understand some things about plants? Because more and more people are saying now, not only having plants, you should have some seeds, because big corporations are trying to control farming and pay farmers not to even farm and all of this other stuff. We need to start collecting rainwater. We need to start collecting seeds. We need to know about hunting. And do most of y'all even know how to identify poison ivy? I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this because this is important. We ain't gonna mix no scripture up, but this is important. Somebody else said the other day, and I seen something. They said, listen, you got to understand that you can take the seeds and you can have the saliva. You can have your saliva and you can put it in the plants, and you can put the seeds in your mouth and you can store them as the plant. And then when you begin to plant them, as you plant those plants, if they're good for, if they're cabbage or whatever it is, that it'll begin to grow and formulate with your DNA on the seed. This ain't, is it devil worship yet? We're gonna keep talking. Is this devil worship yet? Because I don't want to be a devil worshiper. I don't want to talk God's people into devil worship. But at the same time, I don't want nobody, like I said, to run around and call this the devil, and then 4, 5, 6 years from now, your grandkid, your son, your kid, or somebody will need this, and this will be the new science, and everybody will be talking about it. Is it zero? Is it nonsense? Because remember, a few years back, a lot of women that were into the seeds and into the herbs, they were considered witches because they knew about certain plants and things. How do the two things work? How do we begin to understand the spirituality with knowledge and plants and things that are natural? Then we'll talk about the marijuana. And we'll we'll get into tradition with Solomon Grave and how it came up, and should you take a plant and do other stuff to it, because coca is a plant too. That's a leaf, and they take it and process. That's a whole nother story. I ain't want to take y'all down that road. That's a whole nother thing. But we got to look at some things. And we got to begin to investigate. If we say we can get out here, we can talk to plants, and talking to a plant makes a plant grow, and someone neglects a plant or don't talk to a plant, it'll grow, but it won't grow as fast. Do y'all type of one if you believe that's truth or that's devil worship right there? Yeah, that's tomorrow night. That's Thursday night right there. But I just want to ask y'all that. All right, now let me take y'all here. Let me take y'all to this. Let me see if I can pull this thing up now after all that talking I done did. Back to the guru. I'm gonna take you to a guru, and I'm going to show you something. Let me look on my phone. I think I can see if this is. No, I don't want to lose that other thing. Oh no, I can't see y'all. I have to do it. Do me a favor. Y'all don't hear anything yet. Just type 1 if you can hear it. I want to make sure that you can hear it before I play it. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about this, on this right here, what this brother's saying, and one specific comment. That's all I'm concerned with, is one specific comment. Hopefully it sounds okay.
2 weeks ago, I set it off in this church serving communion because I started talking about you can't take communion if you're praying to the universe. Because
you can't take communion if you're praying to the universe. That started it off, he said. Y'all know who this guy is. He got a church down in Texas. He got his weight up. He's popular. Some people call him a motivational speaker, preacher, bishop, whatever y'all want to call him. He's out here and he's popular. He said you can't take communion. Hear me, Chef. He said you can't take communion, Sister Green, if you're praying to the universe. And we've been talking about that. There's more and more people, and it's sneaking into the church. It's interesting that he would even have to address it, because more and more people are talking about the power within them and being one with the universe, and you just got to send him positive energy. And I think people are surprised, but you're going to start hearing more and more people, as God is delivering people, more and more people that are Bible believers are going to say, I was caught up into that. I think a lot of times in the church, people don't know the depth of the amount of people that are caught up in some things that are not biblical. I'm going to keep going because this is actually somebody else's video that's on here, one of the gurus.
The new thing now is we don't talk about God. We don't call his name Jesus. Now we're talking to the universe. You pray to the universe. I'm going to pray to Jesus. You pray to the universe. When you pray to the universe, you are praying to the creation. Why would you pray to the creation when you can pray to the creator?
Rise and shine, fam.
All right, y'all know who this is, right? Minister Kev. I can't even, matter of fact, let me see if I can screenshot this right here. We got to hold that right now because he said that you can't, what minister said, you shouldn't take communion without the Holy Ghost. Hey, come on here. We're going to talk about that. Where Mike at right here? Where Tanja at right now? Y'all know who this is. This is Kevin Wesley. He went viral about 3 years ago because he made a video when he was talking about certain things. He said he was a pastor, ex-pastor, Kevin Wesley. I think it came out that he was one of them apologists found out that he was a youth minister somewhere. He wasn't, a full-blown pastor, but he was a youth minister in the congregation or something to that effect, and that's a big difference. But he started asking about things like the age of the earth because somebody told him what Bishop Ussher and them said back in the 1700s, that the world was created 4004 BCE. So he started asking about the pyramids and other things, and he brought up questions. He ended up going viral. He said he lost his job behind the viral video, and he's been making a series of videos since then. And this is basically what he do right now. Kevin Wesley, be the evolution. He's telling people, come out of the religion. Come to your higher knowledge. And like Walter Williams and them would say, you don't need a book. Because we spiritual people. Hold on to that. Yeah, he got 2 wives. My man and them. When people praying for him, shout out to Kevin Wesley. He hit me a while back. He was like, man, I ain't gonna be dealing with them people. And he said, yo, you might be one that I can talk to, but I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm here. He wanna jump on. He can holler at me. Holler at me, bro. I don't got no beef, but that's gonna just take people the other direction because when they hear certain people have conversations, a lot of people want to get offended. But listen to what he said about what was just stated.
Family. All right, first, notice how the drum snare came at the end when he said, you worship the creation, I worship the creator. And they to the tune, right?
Why would you pray to the creation when you can pray to the creator?
You have to understand what that is. This is to get you excited, okay? I'm not faulting the man, but I want you to understand there's a difference between teaching, where you're actually trying to get someone to understand, and actual dialogue, or preaching, where you're trying to raise someone's energy, sort of like a pep rally. That's what this is. It's preaching. That's why when you see people do this, notice the action in his body language, or in their body language. They won't sit still. They stay moving. They stick the chest out a lot, and just to show you, like, let's take pride in what we're doing. They clap a lot.
Why would you pray to the creation when you can pray to the creator?
You know what I mean? You'll notice that a lot of hypnotists, they actually put you to sleep with like a snap, right? And what you have to understand is what this snap does, and when they repeat themselves often, this repetition puts you to sleep, right?
All right, let me stop right there. Y'all heard he said energy, want to raise someone's energy. He's talking about being emotionally charged. Now, clearly we can say that there is a difference. Sometimes there's a difference between preaching, especially in the Black church, between the way we preach and sometimes the way someone would teach. But you can't say for 1 second that preaching is not teaching. T.D. Jakes was just preaching, and in his preaching, he just said there's people praying to the universe. Some people don't know that. He taught that. And he's going to go on to say that the God that we serve is outside of the universe, time, space, and matter. But now people are trying to make the God of heaven, the creator, part of the creation. So in his preaching, he's actually teaching. So Wesley is wrong in this. But now I understand the preaching, the emotionalism. I'll teach. Most of the time I'm teaching. I'll lecture, I'll talk or whatever, but I'm a hype type of person. So people can take it as preaching. See, people say, oh, he got drama with him, dramatic, or things of that nature. But you can't say every time that someone's preaching that they're not teaching. We got to be careful with that. He used the term energy as opposed to emotions, but we have to get used to that talk. That's new talk. And we're going to talk about how the energies, as time go on, how the energy is connected to the spirit. We've discussed this numerous times. He made it sound like he's rocking the people to sleep by giving them this information or by preaching. And there's a lot of individuals out here now that's saying that, the preacher, Christianity is to rock us to sleep. And when in all actuality, just if we go back to even before this country, if we go back to the history of Christianity, who been those that have been fighting this fight? Let's just deal with this country alone. Who's been those that have been fighting this fight but Christians? That's how come the other cat wrote the book. He wrote that whole book based on Ephesians 5:14. You woke the true believers that have knowledge. They're alive in God. Listen, we're supposed to be more conscious than anybody else because we understand that this thing is warfare. We understand that this thing is spiritual. We understand that the enemy is at work. Anybody's supposed to have wisdom. It's a true Bible believer. Anybody is supposed to have wisdom. It's a true Bible believer. Usually when we connect people with hypnosis and you snap your fingers and do all of that, and there is an occult side of clapping and snapping your finger and superstition with different cultures the world over. And according to Bukhari Hadith, Muslims don't slap a finger and clap and whistle because that has to do with connections with demons or spirits. Some of them believe that that's how Solomon in the non-canonical works, that's how Solomon controlled the demons, and you can control spirits, or you can control your genies by whistling and snapping your finger. But that's not what hypnosis does. That's not what hypnosis does. Most of the time y'all see TV and somebody get hypnotized, they fall asleep. Now, are people open to suggestion through preaching, specifically preaching? No, absolutely not. I don't believe so. People are always open. You open to suggestions when you watch a TV. You're open to suggestions. We got to know certain things, but I'm gonna keep it rolling.
Repeat what they say, or it almost solidifies as what they're saying is truth without you actually doing the research.
All right, y'all, stop right there. I'm gonna stop right there for 1 second. This is the main part of my discussion. I'm glad he brought up the word research, because we're gonna look at some other comments that he's gonna make, and we're gonna truly see if he's done the research. I'll say something, I'll give you some books. I'll say something, I'll explain some primary sources. We'll see if he done the research, because all these folk that claim they woke in higher knowledge and conference, and I'm dealing with light workers, and y'all got to understand the powers and the chakras. Did they really do research? When you hem them up and you start talking to them, did they really do their research? Are they repeating what they seen in other videos, what they picked up in some other books? That's all the secret nonsense is. That's how come I say we have to trace the history. The experience is one thing, and plenty of people are having experiences, but we got to begin to trace, where did this come from? Who was Quimby? Who was the first people to claim that their minds can heal themselves? And I seen a sister in here last night. I'm glad my sister was on top of it. A sister in here said, "No, you a liar. I healed myself plenty of times." And the sister asked her, my sister right here, she said, "Did you heal yourself?" People running around here claiming that they healed themselves. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the power of suggestion. And is it science? Is it pseudoscience? And we'll talk about the word of faith movement. People sick, coughing all over. You know, I feel better because they have to keep a positive confession. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about what do we do with the passages where Rich says that death and life is in the power of the tongue. Where the Bible people at today? Where the Bible people at today? This is a good Bible day today.
This is a known study. If someone repeats something over and over, you will find it is true and won't think about it. Okay, so they'll have you repeat things over and over.
Now, he said that that's a study. He said that's a study. Actually, now he can show me where that study come from. I'll accept it if you can show me where that study come from. But we've got popular people that were involved in occult ritual, that were leaders and different people, like Napoleon, and said if you repeat a lie long enough, I believe in Napoleon that people believe it. Now, this is how come we got to talk about people and manipulations. Let me bring up that book so I can show y'all some of this book. Y'all up on that Travis Institute? I think I'm gonna try to show y'all some books after this. We got to talk about some things because there's a lot going on. And what we have is a lot of people, you got to be careful with these people that's moving in, these gurus moving in this spirituality and trying to tear down us as Bible believers, because they are part of agenda also, if they know it or not. It's a satanic agenda. Because when we turn on CNN and Fox News, y'all don't know. When we watching The Simpsons, y'all don't know. When y'all watching certain things, this is mass programming. They trying to act like they freeing you, but they really bringing you under. It's like when we deal with the occult and we deal with the occult sciences, it's like an octopus with different tentacles. Here we got Torah over here. Here we got the Church of Satan over here. Here we got Luciferianism over here. And where we got Wicca over here. But it's like an octopus with different tentacles. This is how come TV can promote something. They can promote some matrix, some higher self, you are God. Then we'll start hearing professors in the college start saying some stuff. And all of what they're doing is trying to strip the children of God. I'm going to bring up that other book, Come Down Off the Mountain. They're trying to bring down the righteous people. Don't believe that book in your God. Come and follow us. Back to what Mike said 2 days ago. That's why he said, don't let nothing live. Suffer not a witch to live. Because this thing, and y'all have to understand, let me pause. I might stop this screen right now. When we start dealing with the occult and the occult sciences, a lot of believers get locked into the occult because it is seductive. Let's not play no games. Whole country back in the days, America, what is it, Occult America, Mitch Horowitz. Whole bunch of people, all from the White House all the way down to parlors in New Orleans, everybody having seances. Yeah, some people are tricksters and playing with the tables and making the tables float and all of that stuff. But people were really connecting with spirits. Why is that? Why is this happening? Because that world is seductive. Y'all see that Eve got seduced. The Bible talks about seducing spirits, subtlety and seduction. Thank you, sister. This is just what it is.
But let's get to what he was saying. A lot of people now are calling God the universe. I agree. A lot of people are doing this. We have no right to do so, but we do it. God is a word that was created as a construct in the 1800s. This word God implies a person that is watching over you, that created you, judges you, and will put you in a hell as you don't live right or you don't believe in this God. This is the concept that we have of God. Go across the world. Everyone's God is pretty much someone higher than themselves who sits outside of themselves in some heaven and looks down on you. You understand? And I say look down, I mean watches you, judges you, right? Speaks, uses literature to convey a message, right? This is the conceptualized God that we have. So I don't think we should call the universe God. The universe is what we understand it as, the universe. But the thing about it is he says, I'm going to pray to Jesus. Okay, but what proof can you demonstrate that this Jesus exists? This is why people are going away. People are not just saying, I'm going to talk to the universe versus Jesus. They're in a confused state right now. They can't prove Jesus exists. They needed Jesus to exist, and now they can't prove that. So they're backing off a little bit.
All right, you see what's going on right here? Let me explain something to y'all. A lot, he just said a lot right here. When we deal with the person of Jesus Christ, let me turn this down, the historical person of Jesus Christ. I think that's even, shout out Garfield, why he had beef with a lot of people, because a lot of people in the conscious community was chasing that pseudo nonsense that Jesus don't exist, Jesus don't exist, Jesus don't exist. When we look at the person of Jesus, when we look at the person of Alexander the Great, when we look at the person of Plato, when we look at the person of Caesar Augustus, when we look at these people, Cleopatra, when we look at these people coming, we often say coming out of antiquity, coming out of back in the days, there's more evidence of Jesus than anybody else. This is a problem. When these people start saying there's no evidence of Jesus, they just run in their mouth. This is what we call mythicism. He's a mythicist. He believed Jesus was a myth. Now, people acknowledge that Jesus lived when we start dealing with, or Gary Habermas. Y'all look up Gary Habermas. Get a couple of his books. Look at a couple of his videos. I think he's the foremost scholar on the justice, on the resurrection, should I say, of Jesus. When we deal with the person of Jesus, this is not in, that's something that's not in dispute. Bart Ehrman, who's a New Testament scholar, that is not a Christian whatsoever. He says, listen, in your little circles, this is how come we got to be careful that we can't just be trapped in the echo chamber. I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen. No, you got to hear people outside of the argument. I told y'all I'm a Christian, but I listen to people outside of the argument. Popular atheists, I'm listening to them. I'm reading their books because I don't want to be caught up in a vacuum. I don't want to be caught up in the echo chamber where I'm just listening to everybody that believe, and I can't even articulate why the people on the outside say they don't believe. So all of these dudes that's doing this, I listen to their videos. They're going to drop books. I'm going to watch their videos. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to listen to them. I'm not saying everybody needs to do this, but this is a lot of nonsense that's out here being spread. Now, was Jesus the Messiah, especially for a poor person? For a poor peasant from Galilee, they didn't even write about you until you were somebody like Alexander, and most of them people, they didn't write about them until years after the fact. And you had to be a king or a ruler or somebody. And they're going to have Jesus on the same level of Alexander or as the Pharaoh. They're going to have Jesus on the same level as Cleopatra or somebody else, just a peasant preacher from Galilee. There's more evidence for Jesus than a whole bunch of people that has lived out here coming out of antiquity. A whole bunch of people. So we have to look at that. All of this stuff is a problem. Now, when we start dealing with miracles and walking on water and all of this stuff, that's a whole nother thing. But did the person of Jesus exist? Absolutely so. Absolutely so. What's the problem?
And it's funny because they still feel a need to pray, i.e., I pray to the universe. He says, you pray to the universe, I'll pray to Jesus. And that's sort of our journey. When we come out, we still feel a need to pray because this conceptualized God that we have been taught about requires prayer, requires you to talk to it. But we haven't learned this, as no God has been demonstrated to write any literature or leave any literature for man. So we don't know anything about what a God would want from us. An eternal God needing us to pray, that's all literaturized for us. That's been given to us via literature. We don't know that to be true. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, I get that people call the universe God or vice versa or whatever, and it's the universe. But the one of the problems I have is he asserts that you are worshiping or praising the creation.
Garfield, what's good?
Creation. Can you demonstrate that? I'm worshiping the creator. How can you demonstrate that the world was created? Can you demonstrate that there is a creator?
Ah, boy, I don't even want to talk about steady state theory and all of that stuff. There's some stuff we could tell he didn't do no research. What is the Big Bang Theory? I don't really know of too many scientists that are alive right now. I know a few Hugh Ross and them. I know a few scientists that are believers, but the majority of scientists that are not even believers, this is part of the dilemma. The part of the dilemma is that scientists do believe in the Big Bang, that the universe had a beginning. Now, this becomes the argument. How did this Big Bang come about? Some people say, well, there were particles out there 4.6, 4 point whatever billion years ago, and it was a Big Bang. What made it the bang? What is the causality of this thing? Something had to cause this. You could not have done no research because almost everybody that's been studying this thing for the last 30 years believed that the universe had a beginning. But he's the same one that just started talking about doing research. Name some scientists that believe the universe been here and always been here in the last 80 years, 60 years. This is the madness. This is the madness right here. And then what's so crazy, let me see.
You're saying something because you're asserting it and you can't prove it. This is why this is done in a preaching arena. No one's going to ask to prove that. No one's going to ask to demonstrate that. Demonstrate that there's a creator. Demonstrate that we are creation. It can't be done. How do you know the universe?
All right, let me park right here for a minute. We of now some people would be offended, but we say that when we start dealing with the heavens declare the glory of God. When we start dealing with people, even scientists back in the days, the alchemists back in the days, all of them were considered believers in one form or another because they're looking at the natural world and say everything. If I see a bike, if I see a jet, if I see a watch, everything has to have who created this? What was the architect? What was the design? What was the mind behind that? These are just things that we have to look at. A lot of people out here, and they're talking real good, but Rich says the heavens declare the glory of God. Even when you deal with some of the most staunch people out here that's arguing you on Christianity, they be like, well, I can't lie. I don't know about how everything started. I wasn't there. You hem them up, they'll say something like that. But we gotta understand some things. What some of the position that some of these people are arguing from, it's pseudo. Let's just put it that way. But he said something real good. I'm not gonna even get back to Jake's part. I'm gonna see I think in year 4, I'm gonna bring that. Listen to him.
As a catalyst, not as an intelligent mind. How do you know that? We don't know. We don't know. No one's ever talked to us. No spirit has ever talked to us or left us living.
Is that true?
All this is done by man. Find me one thing a God wrote. It's not possible. It hasn't happened. We don't have any evidence of that, family. You understand what I'm saying? All right, family. So just watch this next part.
Listen
to his next rant, and just watch his body language. You'll see exactly what I mean by preaching. Okay, and then we'll talk about some of the statements that he makes. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Listen.
If you reverse what he's saying, if he's talking to conscious people instead of believers, I actually agree. But I'll come back and explain after he gets finished with his rhetoric. Okay, so just listen, family, and watch.
So now he's talking rhetoric. If he was talking to conscious people and not actually believers, he would agree. Oh man, that's heavy right there. All right, y'all, I'm gonna get up out of here. That's heavy right there. There's some things that we have to look at. There's some things that we have to look at. Like I said, we have to talk about people like this, these internet gurus, these wise men bringing you to your higher self, your galactic body, your deeper knowledge, your all type of stuff. All type of stuff we're gonna hear, but at the same time, we have to separate. Remember, I started off talking about those plants. Can you cook saliva on them plants? Can plants connect to your DNA? And then when you grow them in your backyard, in your field, can they strengthen you even as you take them, even different types of teas? And remember, I asked y'all from the beginning, where the devil at? Because we got to find the devil in all of this. It's nothing wrong with questions. It's nothing wrong with looking into things. We got to find the devil in all of this stuff. And we can't, like I said, we can't go back to what we used to be. We can't go back to what we used to be involved in. When I say that, we can't just go like grandmama and them, and just because we don't understand the thing, automatically classify it as the devil. We got to be real careful as knowledgeable believers moving forward in this hour. Of course, there's plenty of madness. There's plenty of progressive believers out here, not even believers. And it's a lot of people that's just involved in the religion and teaching, but that's what their degree is in. They're not going to go flip burgers at McDonald's if their degree is in that and they lost their faith along the way. They're just going to keep it moving because that is what they do. But remember, there is an agenda out here. Remember that there is an agenda out here, and that agenda is to tear down your belief in the book. Is it okay to have questions? Absolutely so. I think this is part of the problem. Folk are getting here and say like, oh, I read that book, I believe that book. I don't have no questions. I don't question nothing. We gotta, as believers, there's nothing wrong with having critical thinking, having a mind to think. Who that said, let my people think? God gave us a mind and we got to use that brain that he gave us. Not according to the ways of this world, the darkness that a lot of these people are moving in, because a lot of what these fools, even some of these scientists, a lot of what they're moving in darkness. So we talk about proper science. What's proper science and what's propaganda in the name of science? Because we got some propaganda out here in the name of science. Oh, don't get it twisted. We got some propaganda. So now we got to study. Now we got to pray. Now we need discernment to work our way through this. What these folk running around here teaching our kids in these schools, these universities, what's being taught? Is it an agenda? Or I have to even ask, I hate to even say that. Let me get up off of here. I got to ask y'all though, have the church held back the advancement of the human race from ignorance, from pure ignorance, calling everything the devil, being against it? Because remember, the church was the one wanted to kill Galileo and them. The church was the one wanted to have them on the run. The church was the one wanted to kill Martin Luther and all of them. They don't want nobody to read. They had the books locked up. They had the writ locked up in the Latin language. Only the priest can interpret this thing. We'll talk later on about Calvin and them coming out and all of that and all of that stuff later on, because I got some emails on that. All right, y'all, on BereanTeacher@gmail.com. I'm going to jump off here. Y'all just remember me and my whole situation. God bless. Good night.